Suiten, Suijin Heki, water wall, Tobirama said, and started expelling water through his mouth that formed a wall around both Hokages, canceling the fire attack. Suiten, Suishuha, exploding water wave, Tobirama said. But instead of using his chakra to create the water like normal users, he simply gathered the moist in the atmosphere and used it to power his attack. The water started swirling around him until he unleashed a massive tsunami heading towards Hiruzen. Doton, Doryuheki, earth wall, Hiruzen said before spitting out dirt from his mouth. The moment the dirt hit the floor, it sprouted into the air, forming a wall to shield him from the impeding tsunami. As the water calmed down, Hiruzen went through another set of hand seals. Doton, Doryudan, earth dragon bullet, and a dragon's head rose from the ground and started shooting multiple globs of earth towards the Hokages. Katon, Karyudan no Jutsu, fire dragon bomb, Hiruzen said, and combined the earth bullets with fire, turning them into almost lava. The Yoton, lava-style bloodline, allows the user to merge earth and fire chakra to create Yoton chakra, and thus use lava attacks. However, anyone can combine the elements externally. However, the power is significantly lower. The Hokages started evasive maneuvers to evade the bullets as they were running towards Hiruzen. Hashirama quickly arrived near Hiruzen and both engaged in taijutsu battle. As the shinobi code dictates, use every advantage possible, and Hashirama set to do so. He dipped his feet in water and threw it into Hiruzen's eyes, blinding him momentarily. Hashirama took advantage of his blindness and unleashed a combo of punches and kicks, trying to end Hiruzen permanently. They couldn't control themselves, so they couldn't stop from using low blows. Tobirama jumped into the fight as well. However, Hiruzen didn't go down as easily as they thought. Using the momentum at which he received the punches and kicks, he discreetly placed explosive tags on both Hokages. He quickly regained his sense again and broke the taijutsu fight by planting a feet into Hashirama's chest and sending him flying. "Kai!" Hiruzen said with his right hand in the tiger seal, and both explosive tags detonated, blowing up Hashirama's leg and Tobirama's arm. Now this would have been enough to kill any shinobi, but the Edo Tensei allowed the body to regenerate. Hiruzen watched in amazement as the leg and arm that were destroyed reformed themselves as if nothing happened. Mokutan, Jukai Kotan, deep forest creation, Hashirama said, and trees started emerging from the ground, ripping through everything. The tiles, the earth wall, nothing stopped the onslaught of the trees. Hiruzen was forced to take evasive maneuvers, but in the end, the trees caught him and snared him by the ankles and arms. Hiruzen forced himself to move under his confinement and bit his thumb, drawing blood. He stretched and placed his hands near a branch of a tree. "Kuchiyose no Jutsu, summoning technique," Hiruzen said, and smoke erupted from where he placed his hand. As the smoke cleared, it showed a figure. His body and tail was covered by white fur which protrudes from his sleeves and pants. He has long white hair that reached into his back and long sideburns and a goatee. He wears a black suit with mesh armor underneath, over which he wears a sleeveless kimono shirt with white fur trimmings and markings reminiscent of tiger stripes on it, which is held closed by a sash. He was Enma the Monkey King and boss summon of the Monkey Clan. "Orochimaru, I warned you," Enma said, watching Hiruzen trapped in the trees. "Let's end him now. Transform into the adamantine staff," Hiruzen said. "Chai," Enma said, and jumped into a branch and said, "Henge, Kongunyoi, transformation, adamantine staff." Enma was engulfed in smoke, and when it cleared, Enma was no longer a monkey, but a staff. The staff quickly crushed the trees and freed Hiruzen from his prison before resting in his hands as he took a defensive stance. Jiraiya versus Senju. Mito. Jiraiya gulped as he watched Mito remove the scroll from her back. After all, Mito was an Uzumaki, and their sealing techniques weren't to be underestimated in the least. Uzumaki Mito did defeat the Kyuubi when Madara attacked at the Valley of the End and sealed him inside of her without dying. Senju Mito was one of the few combat sealers. As long as she had chakra, her possibilities in battle were endless, and since Jiraiya was a seal master himself, he knew very well the foe he was up against. "I wonder if I should use Sage Mode," Jiraiya considered in thought. Jiraiya decided that he shouldn't allow Mito to do anything, and rushed her, engaging in taijutsu. Mito, seeing Jiraiya running towards her, quickly placed the scroll on her back and took a defensive stance. Jiraiya arrived near her and threw a set of punches that she easily blocked. Jiraiya tried to sweep her legs, making her jump. While in the air, Jiraiya tried to punch her, but she grabbed his arm, and supporting herself, she spinned mid-air and delivered a spin kick to Jiraiya. Jiraiya stumbled back, but quickly regained his position. He nursed his neck before going towards her once again. He quickly arrived near and threw a right hook. Her attention was focused on his right arm, opening her defenses for Jiraiya's left hand to slip through and hit her, sending her flying to the ground. She got up as if nothing had happened, and they both rushed each other once again. The moment they arrived near each other, Mito jumped over him. She placed her right hand on Jiraiya's back, applying a seal and jumping away from him. Jiraiya didn't know what happened, and as such, discarded this skirmish as unimportant, until he saw Mito place her right hand in tiger sign. Fuinjutsu, electric seal activate, Mito said, and the seal on Jiraiya's back glowed and started sending electric shocks through Jiraiya's body, making him buckle in pain until he exploded in a poof of smoke. I figured the moment you touched me, you applied some seal, Jiraiya said, rising from the ground. Ninpu, Kabari Senbon, hair needles, Jiraiya said, and his hair extended before starting to fire hundreds of hair needles towards Mito, who remained in place. Mito spread her hands from each other. From her sleeves emerged 2 tags, one for each hand. Barrier technique, shock absorption seal, and a golden barrier appeared in front of her, easily blocking all of the senbons. The moment they hit the barrier, it didn't even waver or buckle from the pressure. Jiraiya, seeing his attacks was useless, stopped launching senbon and decided to try another approach. Kaiten, Dai Enden, giant fire blast, Jiraiya said before flashing through hand seals and sending a wall of fire towards Mito, who remained impassive to any attack Jiraiya threw. Mito took out sealing tags, however these seemed slightly different. Barrier technique, chakra absorption seal, Mito said, and what seemed to be a black hole erupted between her arms and engulfed the fire attacks, leaving no trace of it. She can absorb chakra as well. Damn, Jiraiya muttered out loud. Mito really was a fearsome opponent. She managed to block a physical and chakra-powered attacks with nothing more than ink and paper. Mito quickly opened her big scroll and turned it towards Jiraiya, who raised an eyebrow in confusion. Bakuryugeki, Dragon Bomb, Mito said before a seal from the scroll started glowing. Suddenly, from the seal, a massive torrent of fire shaped in the form of a dragon's head erupted and headed towards Jiraiya, scorching everything on its path. Doton, Doryu Heki, Earth Wall, Jiraiya said, and wall of earth rose from the ground to shield Jiraiya from the incoming flames. That fire attack had a very large reach, and Jiraiya wouldn't be able to dodge in time. The flames connected with the wall, but it was strong enough to withstand the pressure. Can't believe I'm getting my ass kicked by someone who isn't even using ninjutsu, Jiraiya thought, shaking his head in shame. Doton, Yomi Numa, Underworld Swamp, Jiraiya said, as the ground beneath Mito suddenly liquefied, making her fall into the swamp and burying half of her body. The earth quickly hardened, trapping her. Jiraiya suddenly appeared above her and yelled, Rasengan! As he drove a blue chakra sphere right through Mito's chest, destroying everything around it, even the ground. Since Mito had her arms trapped in the swamp, she couldn't block or dodge the attack. Jiraiya jumped back and was watching the cloud of dust starting to settle. He narrowed his eyes as he watched Mito's chest starting to reform. A few seconds later, and it was as if nothing had ever happened. Jiraiya was so focused in watching Mito reform that he didn't notice 3 of Mito's Kage Bushins suddenly surround him, making a triangle around him. They all pulled a tag that seemed to float in the air. Sealing trap, chakra draining seal. All of the 3 clones shouted in union, and triangular, red-colored barrier erupted, trapping Jiraiya inside and starting to drain his chakra. She's stealing my chakra, and fast, Jiraiya thought as he was starting to feel the chakra drainage. If he kept inside, he would be out of chakra in mere minutes. Jiraiya started forming a Rasengan but noticed that it was being absorbed as well. He needed to create a larger Rasengan and use it quickly, so Mito didn't have time to absorb it. Udama Rasengan, giant Rasengan, Jiraiya said, before making a Rasengan twice as big as the normal. He quickly slammed the Rasengan on the ground, and the ground exploded upwards, breaking the barrier and the clones as well. Jiraiya cleaned a bit of sweat and jumped back to gain some distance from Mito. Raikageverse, Kushina. Who are you? Kushina asked. Why do you want to know? The Raikage asked, generously surprised from that question. Even though I hold no love for Kumo, I wish to know the name of my opponent, Kushina explained. I'm Yondaime Raikage, the Raikage said, and Kushina nodded. Shall we begin? Kushina said, before gripping her sword and making the Raikage smirk. Perhaps this wasn't such a bad fight after all. They both dashed towards each other. The Raikage had yet to activate his lightning armor, as he wanted to get a feel for Kushina's power, so he kept at elite Jonin speeds. Erubo, elbow, the Raikage said as he reached near Kushina. He flexed his elbow to hit her. Kushina swiftly ducked under him and brought the hilt of her sword upwards, slamming it against the Raikage's chin and planting a kick to his chest, sending him flying. Dragon dive, Kushina said before flexing her blade and pointing her towards the Raikage. Kushina charged her body with Charka, before exploding towards the Raikage at very high speeds, but the Raikage wasn't the fastest man alive for nothing, and managed to deflect it, although barely. Raikage, seeing Kushina so up close, charged at her and said, Rariato, Lariat, and tried to slam his right arm into Kushina's neck, destroying hit. Kushina Simple bent her body backwards and allowed the arm to pass above her, without touching her. The moment the Raikage's arm had safely passed above Kushina, she quickly rose up once again. She jumped into the air and, using the Raikage's arm as leverage, she snared his head between her legs. She tilted down, placing her hands on the ground for leverage once again, and slammed the Raikage into the ground hard and jumped back to gain some distance. Enough of this child's play, the Raikage said, before his chakra spiked and his body was enveloped in a blue cloak that was sparkling with electricity everywhere. This was the Raikage's most powerful technique, the Raiten no Yoroi, lightning armor. A technique that, by channeling lightning chakra through the synapses and the external body, it improves the user's reaction time, overall speed, and defenses. Kushina, seeing her opponent using the fabled Raiten no Yoroi, knew she needed something that allowed her to keep up with what will be his new speed. Her husband managed to avoid A's fastest strike by using his Hiroshin, but she didn't have that at her disposal. Kushina began focusing and channeling wind chakra through her external body. Futon no Yoroi, wind armor, Kushina said. By surrounding her body with wind chakra, she can cut down the wind resistance, increasing her overall speed. However, this technique doesn't protect her from anything like the Raikage's. The Raikage disappeared in a blink of an eye and appeared just above Kushina. Jirochin Doropu, guillotine drop, the Raikage said, and tried to perform a drop kick on Kushina. However, Kushina, due to her wind armor, managed to jump away and avoid the kick that shattered the ground. Wind/Kushina said, and she reappeared in an instant, where the Raikage destroyed the ground. Channeling wind chakra through her blade, she performed a horizontal swing, and the Raikage just had enough time to tilt his head as the blade passed right above his head, cutting a few strands of hair. The Raikage quickly recovered and jumped away. As he landed, he noticed a few drops of blood fall to the ground. He placed his hand on his head and he looked at it. He noticed a bit of blood. Even with my lightning armor, she managed to cut me, the Raikage thought. It was bad luck in the end. The only thing that can beat lightning is wind. The Raikage was looking carefully at Kushina before she poofed in smoke. He looked around just in time to see Kushina appearing next to him, trying a horizontal slash across his chest. The Raikage, using his lightning reflexes, caught the blade with his bare hands and slammed a kick into Kushina's chest, and she was sent tumbling to the ground. The Raikage had enough of this. He had to end the battle fast, so he could go and help the others' battles. He focused and brought his lightning armor to full power, making it sparkle even more and his hair become spikier. Kushina was looking at him when he suddenly disappeared. She didn't even have time to blink as the Raikage repapered right next to her. He grabbed her by the waist and said, Raiga Bomu, Liger Bomb, and slammed her into the ground, completely tearing her apart and blowing up the ground into smithereens. The Raikage jumped and smirked in victory until he noticed that Kushina's body was reforming. A few seconds later, she was standing in front of her, as if nothing had happened. Damn that Edo Tensei, the Raikage thought as he was considering what he could use to end this despicable technique. Kushina walked forward and placed her hand on the ground, touching the Raikage's blood from one of his injuries that Kushina managed to inflict. Kushina spread the blood through her hands and flashed through hand seals before slamming both hands on the ground. Fuin Jutsu, gravity well, Kushina said, and kanji erupted from her hands and spread through the area where they were fighting. In less than 2 seconds, the whole area was covered. The Raikage rose an eyebrow in confusion, but when he saw Kushina activated the seal, he almost fell to the ground. The gravity in that area was increased almost 5 times. She's trying to slow me down. Smart, the Raikage thought. Infinite blade, Kushina shouted before she disappeared from view. Suddenly, the Raikage's skins bursted in blood, revealing shallow cuts covering all of his body. The Raikage buckled in pain, but this sort of wounds wouldn't slow him down. Raitoningu Sutoreto, lightning straight, the Raikage said before dashing straight forward towards Kushina with his fist cocked. The only person to ever this attack was Kushina's husband, Namikaze Minato. But due to the gravity field, the Raikage was slower, and Kushina easily dodged it, jumping to the side. Enough of this, the Raikage roared before jumping high into the air and saying, drop kick, and slammed his feet into the ground, vaporizing all the tiles around the impact and completely disrupting the seal matrix, making Kushina drop the gravity field. They were about to jump at it once again when all of them heard a piercing scream from the middle of the arena. All of them stopped their battles and regrouped, shifting their attention to the arena floor, where Shukaku was yelling in pain as he having his chakra suppressed. This chakra, it's Shukaku, Tobirama said, as he was one of the most talented censor to ever live. No doubt, Hashirama replied. Looks like Naruto came through, Jiraiya said, and the old Hokage nodded. What do you mean, Naruto came through? Kushina asked in a very sweet voice, making all the males gulp and take a step back. Did you put my Sochi, son, against a bijou? She asked, sweetly grasping her sword. Now, Kushina. He was the one that chose to face the Ichibi. The Hokage tried to reason with her. Besides, from the looks of it, it looks like he won, the Hokage said. Jiraiya didn't say anything. He still remembered the beating he took when he tried to spy on her and Minato. Not even Orochimaru himself said anything, as he still remembered all the broken bones he had when he said that Kushina looked fat. He's approaching, Tobirama said, and they all noticed a figure arrive near the roof. Naruto jumped up and phased right through the barrier, as if it wasn't even there. How the hell did that punk pass through the barrier? Tayuya yelled. How should I know? Sakon replied. Hey, old man, need a hand? Naruto asked before he analyzed the situation. He looked around and saw what Orochimaru had done, but his eyes were fixed on the red-haired woman. Ka-san, mother, Naruto said in a low voice, but everyone heard him. Naruto-kun, Kushina said, and ran towards her son, but Orochimaru forced his control over her, making her stop on her tracks, tears running from her eyes. You dare summon my family, you are going to pay, Orochimaru, Naruto said, and flared his Sharingan, making it slowly shift into his Mangekyo. His eternal, displayed for the first to the world, without any genjutsu, hiding it. Orochimaru was shocked when he noticed the shift in Naruto's eyes, and he felt something he hasn't felt in a long time. Fear. Is that? Hashirama asked, pointing towards the fan in Naruto's back. It's my grandfather's fan, Hashirama Jiji. Naruto said, smirking, and Hashirama's and Tobirama's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Madara had a son? Hashirama said, not believing his ears. He didn't see that one coming. Yes, you did a wonderful job killing him at the Valley of the End, Naruto said. What? Hashirama yelled, He survived? Hashirama asked, and Naruto nodded. Ironic, don't you think? Naruto asked, and Hashirama got confused. To think the descendants of you two would fall in love, Naruto said. Hashirama and Tobirama chuckled at the irony before they focused their attention on the blonde and noticed his eyes. A mangekyo? Tobirama asked, and sensed his chakra levels making his eyes widen. His chakra levels are through the roof. They are on par with lower-class bijus. How in the world? Tobirama said, but Hashirama interrupted him. I sense the Kyuubi's chakra in him. It looks like he's the new Jinchuriki. Hashirama said, and Tobirama nodded as it made sense. It's good to see that my legacy lives on, Hashirama said. Naruto, don't go in blindly. They can't be defeated by ordinary means, the Hokage said. I know how the Edo Tensei works, Gigi, Naruto said, and Kushina smiled at the affectionate name he had for the third. At least he wasn't alone. How do you know it? It's a forbidden technique, the Hokage asked suspiciously. Remember when I found Orochimaru's abandoned laboratory? Naruto asked, and the Hokage nodded. In there I found blood samples as well, Orochimaru's notebook on the Edo Tensei, Naruto said. The reason I know how it works very well is because I can use it as well, Naruto said, and everyone's eyes widened at the statement. Naruto, the Hokage asked with a hard voice, I hope you didn't use. I would never sacrifice someone else's life to bring back anyone, even if it was family, Naruto said, and the Hokage sighed in relief. There are 3 ways to defeat an Edo Tensei, Naruto said, getting their attention. 1, weaken the seal the soul away, thus disabling the Edo Tensei permanently. 2, we can vaporize the body completely, thus stopping it from reforming. Or 3rd, since I know the seals, we can force the summon to end the Edo Tensei himself, Naruto explained, and they frowned. Either way, it was going to be difficult. Ero Sennin, Naruto said. Stop calling me that, Jiraiya and the rest sweat dropped. How could they do this in the middle of a fight? Kushina just laughed, as she had called him the same when she was alive. I can't use any genjutsu strong enough to force them to release the Edo Tensei. So do you know any sealing technique besides the Shiki Fujin? Naruto asked. Yes, but it will take time to prepare, Jiraiya said, and Naruto nodded. We will hold them until them, Naruto said, and everyone rose and eyebrow at the statement. Don't worry, Kasan, I'm freeing you from Orochimaru's grasp. Now. Shall we dance? Naruto asked, smirking and grasping the fan on his back. He always wanted to face against powerful opponents, and it didn't get any more powerful than the Hokages. Flashback, Valley of End. Hashirama and Madara were facing each other, getting ready to start their duel. I'll say it one last time, Madara, forget this path, Hashirama said as he looked at his long-date friend. There is no turning back, Hashirama. Now, shall we dance? End flashback. Hashirama chuckled at the similarities between Naruto and Madara. It looked like Madara's blood was running strong through his veins, more strongly than Hashirama's own blood. Old man, give me fire, Naruto said to the Hokage, and he nodded. Katon Karyu Endan, fire dragon bullet, the Hokage said, expelling a torrent of white-hot fire towards Orochimaru. Kaiten, Goryuka no Jutsu, great dragon fire technique, Naruto said, before he also started to expel his own stream of fire. He quickly picked his fan and swinged, empowering the flames with wind. An inferno was unleashed towards Orochimaru, but they all remained in place. Tobirama clapped his hands together, and water started rotating around all of them before exploding towards the incoming flames. A huge cloud of steam erupted, blinding everyone except Naruto, who, due to his Sharingan, managed to see the chakra of everyone. Taking advantage of the cloud of steam, Naruto quickly threw towards them the last 10 kunais he had with the Hirashin seal. The cloud dispersed and everyone remained in the same, not moving an inch. Suddenly Hashirama started going through hand seals and said, Mokuton, wood spikes. Suddenly a tree sprouted from the ground and started sending wooden spikes towards Naruto and company. Naruto channeled chakra to his gunbai and said, Gunbai barrier technique. A semicircular purple barrier appeared mid-air, intersecting all of the wooden spikes, making them fall to the ground. They were all distracted on defending that they didn't notice Kushina blur right through them, heading towards Jiraiya. "Jiraiya behind you!" the Hokage yelled, as Kushina appeared next to Jiraiya trying to cleave his head off. The Raikage powered his Raiten no Yoroi and dashed at the top of his speed towards Kushina. He wasn't going to arrive in time when they all saw a yellow flash appearing next to Jiraiya and slamming a Rasengan into Kushina. "Arrow Sennin, quick seal her while she is reforming," Naruto yelled out, making Jiraiya hurry and place one of his finished tags on Kushina's body. "You did well, Naruto-kun. I'm sorry we left you all alone, but we loved you very much. I'm proud of you," Kushina said, as her Edo Tensei was starting to crack, indicating her soul was about to be released. "Thank you, Ka-san," Naruto said, sobbing. He usually never let his emotional guard to anyone other than his more trusted people, but this one was an exception. Kushina was starting to fade away before Naruto approached her and whispered something to her ears, only bringing a smile to her face before fading away completely. "You are going down Orochimaru," Naruto said, glaring at the snake. "That was," the Raikage started saying before everything fell into place. "You are Minato's brat, aren't you?" the Raikage asked rhetorically. "Yes, I am. And by the way, Minato was Madara's son," Naruto said, and the first two Hokages widened their eyes. Who would have thought that Madara's son would have become Hokage? "Enough of this. Kill them," Orochimaru ordered, and they all dashed towards the Leaf Defenders. "Jiraiya, how are the tags coming along? Hurry up, will you?" the Hokage asked. "Give me a break. This aren't easy to make," Jiraiya stated. "Here they come," the Raikage said before taking a defensive stance. "Let's end this," the Raikage said, trying to boost the moral. Naruto dashed towards Hashirama and engaged in taijutsu. Naruto had dropped the weights a long time ago if he wanted to keep up with Kages. "So this the power of a Kage? I need to step up my training," Naruto said as he was being pushed back by Hashirama's raw power. Hashirama threw a right hook that connected with Naruto and left him slightly dazed. Naruto's Kamui activated just time to see Orochimaru's extended neck phasing right through him. "What the hell, you pedophile? Are you trying to give me a hickey?" Naruto smugly asked, trying to piss him off. "You shouldn't rattle him up," the Hokage said, chuckling at his surrogate grandson. "I have another ready," Jiraiya stated, and Naruto nodded. Naruto channeled as much chakra as he could into his body and sent a kick towards Orochimaru and sent him flying. Naruto, using his Kamui, phased right through Hashirama and jumped back. Naruto crouched and concentrated. Golden chains emerged from the ground and snared Hashirama into the ground. The chains twisted around his ankles, snaring him to that spot. "Raikage!" Naruto yelled out, before the Raikage abandoned his fight with Tobirama and, charging at full speed, he said, "Lariat!" The Raikage dashed towards Hashirama, who was pinned, at full speed, slamming his arm into him, destroying his chest completely. Jiraiya quickly appeared next to them and placed the sealing tag in Hashirama, breaking him free. "The village is in good hands. I hope we meet again, Naruto. Although not too soon," Hashirama said, smiling as his soul was released. "The village is in good hands." He could sense that Naruto had a pure heart and that the will of fire burned brightly in him. "That's 2 down," Naruto said, panting. Even though Kurama could refill his chakra's reserves at any time and he had good stamina, this invasion was taking its toll on his body. He already had 2 matches, one against a Biju. He made 2,000 clones, and now he's here fighting against Kages. "You now, old man," Naruto said towards the Hokage, panting. "If I don't make Chunin after all this, I'm gonna burn all of your Icha books," Naruto stated, and the Hokage palled. "Easy there," the Hokage said, waving his hands. During all of this, Orochimaru was greeting his teeth. Everything was going so well until the brat appeared, and then his Edo Tenseis started falling like flies. Now they were in an advantage, as it was 4 against 3, and the worst part of it is that he can't afford to kill the brat. Orochimaru decided that enough was enough and spat a sword out of his mouth. It was the Kusanagi sword that is said to be indestructible. Then again, so is Naruto's fan. Suddenly, Naruto stiffened and brought his head down in shame. The Hokage seemed confused and asked what happened. "The Kazekage is dead," Naruto said, and Orochimaru's eyes widened. The Kazekage was supposed to invade the village with a small army and take its surprise. "What happened?" the Hokage asked. He was leading 200 shinobis towards us, so I launched my Kirin Jutsu and killed them all, Naruto said in a low voice. He had just killed over 200 people with a single jutsu. Even though he was defending his village, those shinobis were just following orders from their leader and Orochimaru himself. The Hokage's eyes widened as well, everyone's else. To be able to kill so many shinobis with a single jutsu, it reminded him of his father, the Yellow Flash, who used his Hirashin Jutsu to decimate almost 1,000 shinobis during the Third Great War. To place such guilt on such a young man, the Hokage thought. War never brought benefits to anyone, and this little invasion was proof of that. That must be one hell of a jutsu, the Raikage commented, slightly interested in it. The ability to instantly take out so many shinobis easily ranks the jutsu as S rank. The next tag is ready, Jiraiya stated, and they got ready once again. I won't allow this anymore. Mito, use anything. Use your strongest seal. I don't care, just finish them. Orochimaru ordered, and Mito obeyed. Mito instantly started going through hand seals at very high speed, indicating that it was going to be one big sequence, and big sequences usually aren't good. Jiraiya was watching carefully the seal sequence when his eyes widened in realization. You can't allow her to finish that seal. Stop her now! Jiraiya yelled, but it was too late. Sealing trap. Obliteration, Mito said, and instantly kanji erupted from her hand and covered the entire roof where Jiraiya and others were. The kanji suddenly starting flowing through the air, trapping Jiraiya and the other in a sphere. Activate, Mito said, and the kanji sphere glowed before exploding with such a force that the entire building shook, but the explosion and flames didn't leave the sphere and remained there for a few seconds. The flames died down and kanji faded, dispersing the sphere. Orochimaru smirked when the smoke cleared, as he saw nothing inside the sphere. He couldn't even sense them anymore, so that could only mean that he won. In the end, Konoha shall perish as well, Orochimaru said, laughing, and the Edo Tensei looked down in shame. Don't get cocky, boy, the Raikage said, and they all reappeared in the rooftop via Naruto's Kamui. Naruto by this time was sitting on the ground taking long breaths. How did you survive? Orochimaru asked, getting pissed. No matter what he did, they always managed to escape. You have Naruto to thank for, the Hokage said, looking at him. He transported us all to his pocket dimension just before the explosion happened, the Hokage said, chuckling, and Orochimaru scowled. You really are one of the kind, Naruto-kun, Orochimaru said, chuckling. Such a perfect vessel, he said. I don't swing that way, Naruto said, chuckling. I have both tags ready. Let's end this for good, Jiraiya said before everyone agreed. This battle had gone on long enough, and Naruto was almost completely exhausted. I'll make my final move, Naruto said before he disappeared in a flash. He reappeared right behind Tobirama and slammed a Rasengan in his back, sending him flying towards the Hokage, who caught him and immobilized him, allowing Jiraiya to seal him. You did well, Saru, Tobirama said before disappearing. Thank you, Sensei, the Hokage replied. You are next, Naruto whispered into Mito's ear as he flashed behind her as well. Rasengan, Naruto said, and slammed it against Mito, destroying her body completely. Jiraiya quickly approached her and placed the tag on her, releasing her as well. Now it's only Orochimaru, the Hokage said. Konoha may have survived today, but it shall fall, Orochimaru said, as he getting ready to leave. You are not going anywhere, Naruto said, as he flashed next to him and grabbed him by the arm. The moment Naruto caught Orochimaru, kanji started flowing out of Naruto's arm. Orochimaru, seeing this, immediately performed a kawarami with a log, but the kanji did manage to cover his entire right arm. This is the end, Naruto said before placing his right hand in the tiger seal. Activate, Naruto said. And almost instantly the kanji glowed, and what seemed to be worst pain Orochimaru ever felt, this one was even worse. Orochimaru screamed in pain until the seal started to fade off and disappeared from his arm. What, pant did you do, pant brat? Orochimaru asked. His arm felt normal, however it was a bit numb from the pain. I destroyed the chakra network on your arm. You can no longer mold chakra with that arm. You lose, Naruto said, smirking. This won't be the end. Drop the barrier, we are leaving, Orochimaru ordered, and immediately the Sound Four dropped the barrier and ran towards their master. They grabbed him and tried to jump away. "You aren't going anywhere," Naruto said before he summoned his golden chains and tried to capture them, but one of the Sound's four launched what seemed to a spider's web, giving them enough time to Shunshin away. "Damn it, they got away," Naruto said, punching the ground. "Don't worry, Naruto-kun, we will get him eventually," the Hokage said. All of them were taking deep breaths as they overlooked Konoha. It seemed that the village didn't take much damage, and the Hokage was glad for it. Naruto suddenly clutched his head in pain. "Old man, the invasion is over and my clones are dispelling, so I'll be fainting now. See you tomorrow," Naruto said as his eyes rolled behind his head and he fell to the ground only to have the Hokage grabbing him. "Rest now, Naruto. You did much more than I could ever hope for," the Hokage said as he picked Naruto and secured him in his back. "That's some kid," the Raikage said. "Yes, he is," Jiraiya said, proud of the shinobi his godson became. Chapter 25. Aftermath. Konoha had proved once again why it was considered the strongest of the elemental nations. Konoha was pitted against two other villages, one them being one of the top 5, and yet Konoha came victorious. However, in war, no victory is without sacrifice, and as such, Konoha lost a few shinobis whose names would forever be engraved in the memorial stone. Naruto was slowly regaining consciousness and opened his eyes only to be blinded and brought his hand to cover them. He slowly adjusted to the light and looked up to see a white ceiling. He took the scent of the place and it smelled like disinfectant. "Great, I'm in the hospital," Naruto mumbled to himself and tried to rise but felt a weight in his chest. He looked down and saw a mop of dark blue hair that belonged to Hinata. She was curled against him with her head on his chest, drooling. It was a funny sight to see. He chuckled and softly shook Hinata, trying to awake her. She began to stir and opened those white eyes that Naruto loved so much. She rubbed them to shake off her sleepiness and took her surroundings to find Naruto's deep blue eyes staring at her. "Comfortable?" Naruto asked with an amused smile. "Very much, thank you," Hinata replied, and tried to bury her face closer to his chest. "How long have you been here?" Naruto asked. "I didn't want to sleep alone at the house, so I infiltrated the hospital after hours so I could cuddle with you," Hinata said, slightly blushing, and Naruto chuckled. "How is everyone doing?" Naruto asked, sitting up and stretching his arms. "Everyone we know is fine, but the village did suffer its casualties," Hinata explained, looking down. "I understand," Naruto said. He gently grabbed her chin, making her lock eyes with her. "Cheer up," Naruto said, and slightly kissed her on lips. The quick kiss became a hot make-out session with Naruto leaning against the wall and Hinata straddling him and holding him by his neck. Oh yeah, this is golden. Ryu tries to cheer up his lover by kissing her deeply, his hands feeling her soft skin. Moments later, his hands start roaming down, eliciting a small moan of bliss from Hiromi, Jiraiya said out loud as he was scribbling furiously on his notepad. "This kid will be even better than his father," Jiraiya continued on writing as a small trick of blood fell from his nose. "What are you doing, Jiraiya-sama?" Jiraiya looked up to see Hinata with a very sweet smile on her face. Jiraiya paled at that particular smile, and he could swear he saw a visage of the Shinigami behind her. "Have mercy," Jiraiya said, pleading. "Not today, Jiraiya-sama. Not today," Hinata said before her Byakugan flared. "Secret technique, 1,000 years of pain," Hinata said, and empowering her fingers with chakra, she slammed them right in Jiraiya's butt, sending him flying into Naruto's room and crashing into the wall. Naruto was wondering what this commotion was until he saw his pervert of a godfather flying into his room. Jiraiya crashed into the wall and fell to the ground, crying anime tears with his ass smoking. Hinata approached the pervert, who recoiled in fear as she approached. She quickly found out his notebook and threw at the air and burned it to ashes with a small Kaiten jutsu. This particular Kaiten jutsu was taught to her by Kurenai, who burned every icha-icha she found. "No!" Jiraiya yelled, crying as he watched his precious work turn to ashes. Naruto just chuckled at the antics of his godfather, who was now getting back to his feet while nursing his precious butt. "How are you doing, Gaki?" Jiraiya asked. "I'm good," I just had chakra exhaustion. I'm good as new, Naruto replied. Good, good, Jiraiya replied as he saw the ashes of his notebook fly off the window and sunk his head. Naruto looked around, and when he didn't see it, he decided to ask Jiraiya. Ero Sennin, Naruto said, gaining a thick mark from Jiraiya. Have you seen my fan? Naruto asked. I have it right here, Jiraiya said, and took out a scroll from his back and unsealed his fan. Jiraiya picked it up, and Naruto raised an eyebrow. Jiraiya saw the surprised face on Naruto and asked what was wrong. I'm just surprised you can lift the weapon so easily. You do realize that thing eats a lot of chakra, Naruto said, and Jiraiya sensed his chakra to notice almost 20% missing. This thing just ate a fifth of my chakra just by picking it up. How can you use it? Jiraiya asked, confused, as he placed the fan near his bed. That fan was created by the Rikudo Sennin, and only a descendant from him can use his weapons without the massive chakra drain, Naruto explained, and Jiraiya nodded. There are only 2 people left on this world that can use these weapons, me and my grandmother, Naruto said. Speaking of which, Sarutobi-sensei told me to take you both to his office when you woke up, Jiraiya said, and Naruto nodded. Jiraiya called a nurse over so she could do a quick checkup on Naruto and allowing him to leave. He's completely back to normal, you can go, the nurse said, and Naruto jumped off the bed. He quickly got dressed, picked his fan, and placed it on his back, and they all left towards the Hokage Tower. Naruto! Jiraiya called, and Naruto focused in attention on him. Can't you Hirashin us to the tower? Jiraiya asked, and Naruto's sweat dropped. His father's S-rank space-time technique that he used to decimate a battalion was reduced to transportation. I can, but I won't. I want to stretch my legs, Naruto said, and Jiraiya pouted. They were calmly walking through the streets without a care in the world. Naruto got so caught up in his thoughts, he didn't notice the road ahead of him and crashed into a civilian, knocking him to the ground and making Naruto recoil a bit. When the civilian noticed who he crashed into, quickly rose up and bowed to Naruto before he could even apologize. My apologies, Uchiha-sama, the civilian said, and everyone raised an eyebrow. Uchiha-sama? Naruto asked, and the civilian flinched. Hi, the civilian replied, slightly fearful. Figures, Naruto thought. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, for now anyway, and you don't have to bow to me. I hold no grudge against any of you, Naruto said, and the civilian sighed in relief. He didn't want to piss of the grandson of Uchiha Madara himself, even more after what he heard Naruto did during the invasion. Thank you, Naruto-san, the civilian said, and left. That was interesting, Jiraiya said, and Hinata nodded. Indeed, maybe they will stop shouting demon everywhere I go. That's always a plus, Naruto said, and looked at the other civilians walking in the streets, but the looks Naruto used to receive weren't there anymore. In the beginning, they held hatred. After he showed them the Kyuubi, they held fear, but now they seem to hold respect and admiration. Hokage Tower. They all arrived at the Hokage Tower and went through the doors to see the old Hokage giggling like a madman with blood trickling from his nose while he had a few Kagebushins working on his paperwork. The Hokage giggled once more, and Naruto's sweat dropped only to see Hinata disappear in a blur and snatching the Hokage's book and destroying it with the same Katan jutsu. Are all men perverts? Hinata asked out loud and got a sigh from the Hokage. How are you feeling, Naruto-kun? The Hokage asked. Naruto outdid himself against the Kages. It isn't every day we see a 14-year-old boy hold his own against cage-level shinobis. I'm good as new, Naruto replied. Now let's get into business, the Hokage said as his clones dispelled, and he took his seat behind his desk. Oh, by the Gigi, Naruto said, getting the Hokage's attention. Did you take the scroll I had with me because I had Gaara and his team sealed in there? Naruto said. Yes, don't worry, they are all in lockdown pending negotiations with the Sand, the Hokage explained. And what is the Sand saying? Jiraiya asked. It's up to the council now, since the Kazekage died in the invasion, and they took a very heavy blow. They came at us with a full battalion of almost 1,000 shinobis, and they can't risk war against us, so they will comply with our demands, the Hokage explained. What did you ask? Naruto asked. Financial compensation for the damage dealt to the village, and we are keeping Gaara as another Jinchuriki, and their team should they choose to stay as well, the Hokage said. And Naruto raised an eyebrow. I know you may not like it, but the Bijus dictate the power shifts in the villages. Until now we only had the Kyuubi, now we have two if Gaara decides to turn friendly to our side, the Hokage said. Naruto brought his hand to his chin in thought and replied, He might. He holds no love for his village as he was treated like me. Good, the Hokage replied. Now they would stand like Kumo and Aiwa both having two Bijus. The Leaf never prided themselves on making weapons of Jinchurikis and proved it many times. They won 3 world wars by having extremely skilled shinobis and not relying on Jinchurikis to do their work. But before that we should fix Gaara's seal, Naruto said, and Jiraiya rose an eyebrow in confusion. After I placed my demonic suppression seal on Gaara, I noticed some irregularities. The seal that holds Shukaku was designed for inmate objects. It's nothing more than an advanced storage seal, that is why Gaara is so unstable. It is probably also affecting Shukaku, Naruto explained, and Jiraiya nodded. We will take care of that later, but now I have other concerns. The Hokage explained, before taking out a file and handing it to Naruto to read. What's this? Naruto asked as he picked the file and started reading it. The report on how good Uchiha Sasuke did during the invasion based on Shinobi Saw and Kakashi himself, the Hokage explained. Invasion report. Name, Uchiha Sasuke Team Affiliation. Team 7, under Hatake Kakashi rank. Genin Team assigned. Nara, Shikamaru, and Haruno Sakura. Description. Sasuke displayed high level of skill and responsibility by taking charge of a genin team and provided crucial assistance in the civilians' evacuation, as well defeating multiple Chunin-level shinobis from both sand and sound. Recommendation: promotion to Chunin. Okay, now what? Naruto asked, slightly confused, as to why the Hokage would show him this. I want yours and Hinata's opinion on this, the Hokage explained. Why us? Naruto asked. You are friends with him and know him better than anyone, the Hokage said. Friends is a very strong word, Naruto said, sighing before pulling his thoughts together. I have no doubt that Sasuke is strong enough for Chunin. It's just his attitude that endangers this. If he does get promoted, his ego will skyrocket and he might conflict if someone of the same rank is chosen as leader, Naruto reasoned. In the other hand, not promoting him will just enrage him even more, as he will think that the village is holding him back, and with Orochimaru's offering of power, he might be a flight risk. Naruto finished his explanation. What about you, Hinata-chan? Naruto asked. I agree with you. He's too focused on revenge, and both choices have drawbacks. However, promoting him and placing him with a strong leader will solve these problems, Hinata replied, and the Hokage nodded in comprehension and would take this later on with the council. I will take it into consideration. Now on to the next matter, and this relates to you, Naruto, the Hokage said, and Naruto focused on him. I'm too old for this job. I should have stayed retired, but when your father died, I was forced to take back the hat, the Hokage said, sighing. This invasion was proof of that. I'm no longer strong enough to lead this village, and as such, I chose a successor, the Hokage explained. Are you giving the hat to the pervert? Naruto asked offhandedly and got a smack on the head from Jiraiya. I'm not a pervert. I'm a super pervert, Jiraiya said. Cough. The Hokage forced a chof to silence the bickering duo. I would have asked him, but he would have refused, the Hokage said, and Jiraiya nodded, as it was true. His spy network was of too much importance to the village, and besides, he wasn't the type of man to be strapped behind a desk 8 hours a day. Now this brings the main reason I asked Jiraiya to bring you in, the Hokage said. But before he continued, Naruto interrupted him. You are making me Hokage? Naruto asked with disbelieving look. Not yet, I'm afraid, the Hokage replied, chuckling. The reason I called you here is because Jiraiya wants you to accompany him into searching for my replacement, Senju Tsunade. The Hokage finished with an amused smirk on his old face. Really? Naruto beamed, thinking of going to search for the last piece of family he has, even if she doesn't know about him. Yes, although she might be a bit reluctant into coming back to the village, the Hokage said, sighing. She hasn't been able to cope with her losses, and she throws herself into drinking and gambling. Don't worry, I'll bring her back to the village. That's a promise, and I never go back in my word, Naruto said. Now this brings us to final topic of this meeting, the Hokage said, and Naruto sighed. They had already been here for quite a while, and it seemed it wasn't going to end anytime soon. After this, I'm calling a council meeting to give the promotions. You will be promoted to Chunin, which gives you the right to have a council seat as the head of the Senju, Uzumaki, and Namikaze clans, the Hokage said, and Naruto nodded. So have you decided on your name, and if you will take the seat right now? The Hokage asked. Naruto once again was lost in thoughts. The Uzumaki name has been with him since his birth, but it's too far away, and apparently he's the last of the Uzumaki, along with Tsunade. He would like to honor the Namikaze name of his father, but that never belonged to any clan, and he wouldn't want to forget the Senju clan. The Uchiha name was out of the question, and as such, the choice was only between Senju and Namikaze. It was a tough choice in the end. Naruto would be leaving one name to die, and as such, he decided that he should not let the name of the founders of Konoha to be forgotten in history. I'll take the Senju name. From now on, I'm Senju Naruto. Naruto said. The Hokage smiled. It was good choice, as it were any other, but Sarutobi liked that he chose the founder's clan name. Are you taking the seat now? The Hokage asked. Naruto mused in thought. I don't know, there is going to be a lot of noise because of this, Naruto said. Yes, but they can't deny you your heritage, the Hokage explained. I'll take it. Now let's go make some noise, Naruto said, smirking at the thought of all those yelling civilians. The Hokage's sweat dropped. The Hokage flared his chakra, and an ANBU dropped from the ceiling and knelt in front of him, waiting orders. Summon the council and call Uchiha Sasuke and Nara Shikamaru, the Hokage said. Hi, the Anbu replied and disappeared in smoke. Let's go face the music, Senju Naruto, the Hokage said, chuckling, and they all left the office and went towards the council room. It took about half an hour before all the clan heads could come. They were all seated in the traditional place. The Hokage, Jiraiya, Naruto, and Hinata walked through the double doors and saw that the council was already assembled. The Hokage sat down and noticed the room. To his left were the clan heads. There was an empty seat closest to him, followed by Inuzuka Tsumi, head of Inuzuka clan, Hyuga Hiyashi, head of the Hyuga clan, Aburami Shibi, head of the Aburami clan, Nara Shikaku, head of the Nara clan, Yamanaka Inoichi, head of the Yamanaka clan, and finally Akimichi Choza, head of the Akimichi clan. To his right, there were his advisors, Shimura Danzo, Mitokado Homura, and Utatane Koharu. Next to them was the civilian side of the council. It consisted of the most important civilians in the village that ran the most shops and provided food, clothes, and other materials and services for shinobi use. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, grandson of the legendary Uchiha Madara. Sasuke remembered those words as he watched Naruto walk into the room. His long hair and the fan on his back made Sasuke seethe his teeth as he was permanently reminded of his utterly defeat. The council is in session, the Hokage said, before looking at the genins in front of him.